G'day, Steve Morgan here, Australian Bass Tournaments and Fishing Monthly magazines with another Tackle Friday. This is Australia Day today, and when you're all out eating lamb or protesting or whatever you like doing on our National Day, I'm sitting here getting all of our stuff ready for the Victorian ABT road trips. Of course, we go and do 2 bass events on Blue Rock Dam and Lake Glenmaggie, and then 2 massive bream events we have on Gippsland Lakes and Malakuta. So I've been putting all the stuff together. You can see in the cutaways here, I've got massive piles of rods, all labelled up, different piles. I've got the giveaway rods for the non-boaters that draw me in the tournaments. I've got the bass rods here. I've got the new Daiwa InFeet 23 bream rods that we talked about last week. They're all packed. And currently I'm just going through and I've got these old bags of soft plastics. I've got 2 big bags of plastics here. I'm going to get it down into 1 bag for bream and bass. So there are plastics all over the joint here and some other little bits and pieces that are coming during the week. So I'm going to start with, let's start with plastics. The guys from Rapala out the back brought these in. Don't even know if I'm allowed to show you these yet, but bad luck, I'm going to do it. These are the Crush City Creepers, and this is my substitute for a black gulp. Everyone knows who's in the bass fishing scene that those black gulps fish vertically up alongside trees. They mimic those little insects that the bass love chasing around the lakes. And the creeper, I think, should do a pretty similar job, because what happens is I buy a thing of black gulp. I'm not really a plastic fisherman. I open it up, I use 1 gulp, have 3 or 4 casts, get bored of it, and next time I go to use the packet in a year's time, it's all dried up. So it's cost me $15 for 1 throw. So the creepers will be good. They'll last at least. I can seal that package up, and this might be my 10-year supply of Crush City Creepers when it comes to bass fishing. The hot tip from the guys at Rapala though was when you fish these, and the yellow belly guys have been doing it, fish them on stingers. So I've dug out my my stinger rigs here. I didn't tie these up myself. I must admit Mick Horn from Rapala tied these up for me. They've got the Daiwa or the TT jig heads either, but then they've got a little bit of braid with a little single hook sitting in the back of them there. So and they said don't even put it into the plastic, just have it hanging behind the plastic and the fish will suck it in, and away we go. So I've taken Mick Horn's and Matt Osley's advice here, and I've got some stingers packed for the Rapala Crush City Creepers. So they're going to make the final cut of the plastics, I can tell you. But I've got some of the other creepers here and all the sort of fish catching colours they've got. Sean Clancy gave me a bit of a heads up that at Malakuta over Christmas, they were loving the imposters, because obviously the prawns are running down there at this time of the year. So Crush City imposters are going to be sitting in there as well. The big decision is, do I take the suspects? They're the paddle tails that Crush City do, and they were some of the prototypes they had, or do I take the old favourites like sliders? I don't know if I should take both. I should just commit to the sponsor product. And Slider never sponsored anything for the last 20 years, so let's go with the sponsor karma and those suspects. Talking about stuff that's going to be happening in Eastern Victoria this time of year, cicadas are going to be biting. Now I don't even know if you can get these anymore, but last time I was in Manning River Marine, I stocked up on this lure here. This is the Bass Tune Tiemco cicada. It's not a soft one like a soft shell. It's actually a hard body, but it's got those soft wings on it. But check out how many hooks are on it. There is 9 points on 3 trebles. Well, that one's had 1 bitten off, so there's only 8. But this lure has 3 trebles on it, and that's what I reckon you need for a fishery where the bream and the bass are coming up and slurping at the lure. So I've got a few of these packed. I remember ringing up Chris Hickson and saying, give me plenty of those. I call them golf balls with 9 hook points on them. But I've got some of those packed in, ready to go, and I throw those on the ultralight Daiwa bait cast, the BFS stuff that I've got packed in there. So in the salt, that will get used for cicada stuff and maybe some crab and mussel stuff around structure. So I've got some of those packed as well. Leaders, I got caught out in Tassie last time, and I'll let you know now, I'm driving down to Victoria, car and the boat are staying in Melbourne, and then I'm going to fly back to Brisbane, work for a few weeks. Then I'm going to fly back to Melbourne and catch the boat to Tassie. So we have to have all of the kayaks packed for Tassie, Tassie lures, Tassie baits, to save 40 hours return of driving and 4 days of driving in between. So for Tassie, I'm going to pack some heavier leaders this year. Last year I hooked heaps of big fish and structure on Callum Dowell's muss, and they didn't make it back because they didn't have heavy enough leaders. So last year for the bass, I was actually trying this. This is the J-Thed Crosslink fluorocarbon leaders that they do. I had a 12 pounder used all year for the bass, and I was really, really happy with it. So I've got some of these from Daiwa. Some of the other leaders, I've got some 6 pound, 5 pound, 4 pound, 7 pound, 8 pound, 10, 12, and I think 14 they might have. But I've got all of those in the Crosslink or X-Link leader packed in. So I'm going to try it this year. I sort of gave it a bit of a go last year. Was happy with the heavier stuff. So let's see how the lighter stuff goes. Of course, I still have my Yamatoyo Chinu Harris leader in there as well, because it's been impeccable for brim for me for the last, must be 10 years nearly I've been using that now. All the way from the 4 pound through to the 10 pound. That's been sensational. Some more Daiwa stuff I've packed is, I've had to get a few, I'm not again, I don't have many jig heads, but when I do, when I'm fishing a Z-Man or a Bait Junkie or a Crush Shitty plastic on them, I want them to stay on. So that new Daiwa jig head design has been fantastic for that. Holds the plastics really well because you're basically shoving a barbed arrow through the end of the plastic. And these small packs fit really neatly in your tackle box. I've got a few of the lighter weights that I can fish some of those imposters on, or the creepers, or any of those small brim style things. Haven't got many bass weights because from my experience in Victoria, you sort of fish brim tactics for bass anyway. So wouldn't be surprised if I'm throwing 3 pounds straight through with jig heads for bass as well as brim. While I was on the tackle wall, I had to grab a few more packs of these. I ran out of these in the grand final. I had 10 packs of them on the wall at work here, but that VanFook Magic Beak hook in the #1 is the hook you need to use for pairing with that 50mm Eco Gear Aqua Bait. As I say, I ran through a lot of them last year and I didn't have spares. I ended up using all my 1.0s, which also work pretty well on big brim, but I'll make sure for Tassie, fishing around the racks, these are gun. Underneath shaded trees in Malakuta, these are gun. Free swimming brim, love an aqua, so I'm going to make sure I have plenty of aqua gear there and ready to go. Jumping back on the bass, when I travel, I sort of take the reels off the rods and I put many of the rods into one rod tube. So I'm mixing the breeds here. This is a Daiwa rod sleeve, but it's got 4 of the 13 Fishing Muse black rods in there, and these are both, there are 2 spin and there are 2 bait cast in there. I use the bait cast paired with the Concept A type 13 fishing reel. That's a white reel. You would have seen it in my highlights last year for a lot of the bass stuff that I do. And then I pair the Muse rods, the spin rods, and these are the lightest ones that I could borrow off the guys out the back, with some of the Daiwa spin reels. So my heavy brim reels go and they double up as my bass reels. So 4 rods there, 2 spin, 2 bait cast. Hopefully that will be enough when I mix it with the brim stuff to get me through the bass gear. So that's what's happening for me this Australia Day. Getting through the tackle. It'll take all of the rest of the day to get this into a small enough boxes so I can fit them all in the boat. I haven't got any space in the car to fit any of the stuff, so if it ain't fit in the boat, it ain't going. I'm going to add this to my power pole drift paddles, which I think I'm going to need through some of the events, both brim and bass. All of the accessories have to go in there. Have to fit 2 Lynx kayaks in there, have to fit power poles, live wells, paddles, all the prizes for the bass tournaments and tents. It's going to be a packed car, so and we're leaving tomorrow. So one more thing, Nicole, my camera person, has kindly reminded me of this. My Maui gyms, the latest ones, and these aren't the ones with the magnifiers in them. I've got 2 sets now of this Southern Cross lens. If anyone likes this lens, it's called a Southern Cross for the Mauis. I've ordered a new set of Mauis and I got it with the extra magnifier down the bottom. Now, if you watch my live stream, sometimes I'm tying with 2 pound at arm's length. Over 50 years old, your eyes start going downhill. These got magnifiers in the front of them, so they act like a normal pair of Polaroids. But when you're tying something, you can look down through the bottom of them. You look like an old bloke reading a book, and they're like those bifocals. And man, I can see that 2 pound like I was 21 years old. So the combination of Maui Jim HT lens plus the bifocals, I think is going to be a real winner down at the first Victorian events and then subsequently in Tassie. So bit of new gear coming. Thank you for visiting Tackle Fridays again. I like doing them. Hope you like watching them.